got the same opinion. We would have been absolutely over the moon to get to a cup final. Whereas I think now, once that final whistle goes, everything's analysed. The stats, the possession, the ball retention, how many passes did we play forward, how many passes did we play back. I don't care. We're in the final. We're in the cup final. And it's getting over that line. And you go into a one-off game in a final in Wembley against Chelsea.
Yeah.
It's anything can happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you can go ask a City fan or ask a Chelsea fan or any of those people. Did you care how your team played? They won the cup. Do you care how they played? Hell no, they don't care. They just won silverware, and we've got to start filling that trophy cabinet up again, don't we?
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting you say that, though. Bill Nick would never have accepted that. Wasn't it the 61 Cup final?
Yeah.
The first thing he did was go and congratulate the Leicester players who'd just been beaten, saying that they were the better team that day, and how things have changed. It's interesting. All the Arsenal wags came out and said, couldn't even beat Sheffield United from League One, and somebody was very quick to point out that they lost to League Two Bradford a few years ago and got dumped out the League Cup. So they got to watch their stories before they open their big gobs. But we'll save that for the North London Derby preview.
Well, sorry, go ahead, David.
Yeah, I was going to say that Davie hit the nail on the head. And also, I would say to anyone that's thinking about joining Spurs, it's not an easy ride. And the Sheffield United game epitomised exactly what it's like to be a Spurs fan, and I think that's why it attracts the fans. It attracts, it's not the guys that just want to sit there and close out a game, a bit like Chelsea did yesterday against Man City. You never know. You're never quite sure what's going to happen with Spurs, and that's one of the lovely things. It may drive you mad while you're sitting there, and it may drive us to an early death, but I'd rather that than bore people to death. I think that's what Nicholson said, or Danny, wasn't it?
Danny Blanchard, So the game is about glory.
Well, and just we've talked about this a bunch throughout the season. Momentum is a very fragile beast, and David just sort of pointed it out. And the other thing was we could be sitting here just being absolutely despondent, because that's really, had we lost that match, that's how we'd be. And I think that could have easily transcended into our performance yesterday and setting the tone for the rest of the season, because we're already bitterly disappointed, right, that we got knocked out of the FA Cup, which is obviously very, very important to our club and our history. So, you sort of, and to Rob's point, it's the theater of being a Spurs fan. I mean, we died 1,000 deaths. Well, anybody that watched that match live. So.
Yeah. And I had documented when I was blogging before I did this podcast mess. I know that Spurs will rip my heart out of my chest and stamp on it more than they will ever make me leap for joy. But I've chosen my club, and understanding that is part of the makeup of being a Spurs fan. But I would like Robin said, I'd rather do that than just go to the pub every single week just expecting to win because we've spent 250 million quid on players that transfer window. I'm not about that, and I hope that the people that if they ever hear this or don't hear it, or as they go through the process of selecting their club, that they take into consideration the fact that earning it's kind of why the Wilfred Boney transfer to City just boggles my mind. You're the fourth striker now on a team, realistically. When you were the leading guy at Swansea, and you were just handed Champions League, and he's come out and said that's why he went there. He wanted to play Champions League football. Why not go to a club where you can earn it? You're almost not. I won't say almost there with Swansea, but there are other teams, including Spurs, where you could have gone to that and helped that team get over the hump, so to speak, to get to Champions League. I don't understand these players that they just want to go to Champions League and just ride on the coattails of people before them. Why not be the person who instigated that team getting there?
It's tough, though. I mean, the game has changed so much. I mean, gone are the days, right, where you have players like Rob's dad that played for the glory of the game and the glory of the club. I mean, it's in many respects about getting paid these days, right, and having just the glory of having titles. And so it is tough. It is tough to get a setup of players that and that's why I like the sort of homegrown aspect that we're developing within our squad, academy players, right, that have started from ground zero. Let there be more of that.
Yeah.
I see.
Hey guys, before we finish up on the League Cup thing, I just wanted to ask a couple of questions, just throw it out there. Yeah, we can talk about the what ifs. I think I said on the last pod we should stop relying on late goals. Well, obviously we depended on one again, and even though I said it wouldn't last, it will continue, and long may it if it has to. So thoughts on the final. I know Pochettino said yesterday if Mourinho was in this position, he'd be moaning about the 3 days of rest that we're inevitably going to face after the away leg of the round of 32 Europa League match against Fiorentina. I kind of looked up, well, what happened in 2008? What was the situation then? And I found out we actually had played the second leg against PSV in the Europa League on the 21st of February. The finals on the 24th. So we're facing the same situation. Unfortunately, Chelsea had played that week, albeit 2 days before us in the Champions League. This year they are not. The last match they play is the prior weekend in the league. So yeah, there is a disadvantage. How are we going to cope with that? Is it mental? Is it physical? Do we put out? Obviously, we'd like to win heavily enough in the first leg that we can certainly put out a weakened team in the second. But we all know how that works. Cast your minds back to Burnley in the League Cup that same year, 2008, and I believe also Inter a couple of seasons ago where we beat them 3-0 at home and obviously lost 4-1 in the away leg. So it's never a given, but thoughts on how we need to prepare for the final?
Davie, go ahead with that.
I wouldn't take this sort of the wrong way, and I'm not going to diss a European trophy because I wholeheartedly want Spurs to win the Europa League without a shadow of a doubt. But there's a long way to go in that tournament, and there's a few big teams there. In my own opinion, the priority is the 90 minutes against Chelsea. Whether that means fielding a weakened side in the Europa League to concentrate on the cup final, that's the way I would view it, because we are so close. We are so close to rewriting history books. Nobody remembers fourth, and nobody remembers getting to the semi-final of the Europa League or the quarter-final. But winning a trophy puts your name beside a bracket that you've won something that year, and to me, that's what's important. And I would fully concentrate on the Capital One Cup final. That's my viewpoint on it.
Rob, how about you, buddy?
Yeah, I'm of probably a similar opinion. I mean, it would be absolutely fantastic. It would be incredible for us to go on and win the Europa League. But there's some great teams left in that competition, and it's something that takes up a lot of energy. I think there's normally a history of one of the clubs in the Capital One who basically whose season almost stops the Sunday or the Monday after their Capital One Cup or the Carling Cup, whatever it is, trophy after the final. So I just hope that doesn't happen to us. I don't think it will. I think Pochettino's a clever enough guy. I think the players, the reaction on Wednesday night after the Sheffield United game, just the reaction of them getting to Wembley, it's such a great thing. And I think also Davie said something, and I think as supporters, we should be hungry for success, but we should also be realistic and say, well, at the start of every season, there's only 4 teams in one league that can win a trophy of some description.
Right.
Well, 5, sorry, because the Europa and the Champions League. So we could very well be one of those teams. So I think actually, and again, I think Pochettino, as I say, he's a clever guy. He's been in this country, I think he's 3 years now. He's been a manager at, maybe this is his 4th year, I'm not sure. But it would be great on his CV to have a trophy.
Yeah,
so I think if we've got any sense about it, that will be our major focus. And if that's slightly at the expense of Europa League, then so be it.
All right. Well, then that said, right? Then I think we're all pretty much in agreement here. Then you're putting all your effort into the cup. Then you play your best players, right? So if you do you start Lloris over Michel Vorm?
Yeah.
Now.
Yeah.
You have to. I think you have to. it sucks for Vorm. I mean, let's face it. That guy, he's played in every match leading up to this. Maybe there was something, we talked yesterday, maybe there's something in his contract that said he gets to play the cup games. I don't know. But when you're in a final, you field your best 11, and if that means, Michel, you're on the bench, that means, Michel, you're on the bench. You have to go at this as if you're playing Chelsea in a league match. I mean, just as any other match, to try to do exactly what we did when we smashed them 5-3.
Has there been a situation like this before, Davie or Rob, where we had a keeper for most of a campaign and then pulled him when we were seeking ultimate glory?
I don't think it's happened too much.
yeah, the glory part. Yeah, fair point.
Off the top of my head, no, but I think it's a tough decision for Pochettino, and I think that sentiment has to go out the window here. It's a cup final, and if it was Alex Ferguson in days gone by or whoever, they would play their best team in the final. It's all about the glory of the game, and if it's if Lloris is going to be that defining piece of the jigsaw which helps us win that final, and if Form's left on the bench after playing so many games, so be it. That's what has to happen. You have to play your best team.
Yeah, right.
I agree. I mean, as a player such as Vorm, if we go on to win and Lloris plays, he will feel every bit a part of that cup as anybody else who played the match, because of what he's done to get us there. He's made some incredible saves. He's had bungled a couple of two along the way, but you know what? He's been pretty damn good in goal, and he should feel every bit a part of that victory or that event or just being there as anybody else, I feel.
Yeah, I agree. I think just playing Chelsea just adds to it. If there was any debate, let's say he was in really good form, the fact that it's Chelsea, I think, amplifies it even further. The need to play Lloris, which, God, he was brilliant yesterday.
Yeah.
My God.
It's interesting if you go back to the previous campaign where we went to the final and won. I was just looking at some of the match reports from that season. I think in the 5th round, right before Christmas, we won at City 2-0. Robbo was in goal for the semi-final second leg when we beat that South London club 5-1. Cherney was in goal, then the final Robinson. So it's been done before, but it looked like we were rotating the keepers that season.
Yeah. And it's a good segue into what we did yesterday. We play our best, a pretty good team, although the lineup was a little different going into West Brom. And I know Sam's just a lineup nut, so he'll walk in, I like this lineup, and we're all scratching our head going, what the hell is going on? But Sam, tell us about this lineup, what you liked, what Pochettino's angle on this thing was, fielding the players that he did.
Well, I'll try to be quick. I can't take full credit for my thoughts yesterday because they were formed by Mark at Spurs Fanatic, but he pointed out that Pulis has a history of sort of jamming the middle of the pitch against us and really sort of constricting Eriksen from roaming around. And he had shown where really the way that you beat them is sort of by exploiting the flanks, particularly their right side. And so, although I never really rated Paulinho for the start, I was sort of scratching my head saying, well, surely Dembele is going to be the 10 here, and you move Eriksen out wide, but who's going to play where? And, Paulinho, middle of the field, was open a couple of times, but it made perfect sense in retrospect. But I came in screaming, shouting, I like this lineup, and it did exactly that. 2 of our 3 goals, right, came from, free kick was on the left side, and Dembele's pass came through the left side to reach Kane. So he absolutely had it bang on, and so that it's an interesting discussion. How do we set up for Arsenal? And that's 2 matches in a row where I think Dembele's been pretty good in combination of being a defensive-minded 10 and allowing Eriksen to roam around.
I want to ask this because we have a couple days left before the transfer window closes. If we don't get any striker cover and we loan out either Adebayor or Soldado, is Dembele a good option to maybe act as striker coverage? I mean, that's what he did at Fulham, right? Is that an answer in any way, shape, or form, or is he strictly a defensive holding midfielder at this point that can move forward.